Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. This episode was very emotional. Okay? It was a very emotional episode. Um, I'll say this. For me, it didn't really do much because I already knew that I already knew that the characters was going to die. Okay? I already saw it in the previews. And I guess a lot of times, most of these soap operas, when it comes towards like these crying scenes or these death scenes. And the reason why it doesn't really hit me is because soap operas, for the most part, have always been, I don't want to sit there and say melodramatic, but just very heightened. You know, every time they fall, every time they get into a fight, or, you know what I'm saying, like the acting and the emotions and stuff like that, the fake tears, it's all very like, I don't want to sit there and say overacting, but it's very sometimes over the top, right? Like just soap operas in general, the way that they're shot and everything like that is just very over the top. So a lot of times these death scenes are just like, it's not that it's a bad scene, that they're great, I mean, obviously you don't want nobody to die, but I'm just saying, like, they're great moving and touching scenes. Um, Alex, first of all, before I get into this sad scene, okay, when Stephanie came out and she was quote unquote ready, for a I don't know, usually when it comes towards like soap opera women, they're like they're average, like they're average, like they're very pretty. Okay, there's a fine line. Okay, there's a fine line between pretty and sexy. Okay, there is a fine line. It's like a painting can be pretty. Actually, that's the wrong analogy. The point is, there's a fine line between pretty and sexy. Okay, she kind of went past the threshold of pretty, especially when she was dressed like. I was just like, this is a soap opera, right? Like, this is not one. I'm kind of getting confused with some of the stuff that I, you know, every now and then watch. She looked good. Okay, that's the bottom line. She looked good. All right. They start their whole love making scene, and again, it's a lot of those things when you watch them, just like, all right, they're very over the top. It's just very unnecessary. Like for me, it's just like, I'm just like, all right, can we, can we kind of like wrap this up a little bit? Not really, whatever. So they had that scene. Meanwhile, Chad is calling and calling and calling and calling and calling. Alex decides to turn off her phone. So at some point, Chad, because Steve was like, listen, Kate just, you know, yeah, Kayla just died or whatever. You need to sit there and get it. You need to get her fast. So Chad is like, all right, I know where she's at. He comes in there, he busts in the room. I'm sitting there like, I mean, I know it's like kind of dire, but you could have knocked. I mean, you might have saw some stuff that you couldn't unseen. Just saying. But you tell Stephanie, hey, listen, you got to get down there. Your mom is really bad, and of course she gets there and it's too late. The whole time, when Alex found out about her mom being sick, felt bad. Part of me felt like he might have felt bad even before they started, because he was all like, so just want to make sure, like, you sure you ready? Like, Bro, look at that. Does she look like she's not ready? I, seriously, that's really what you're gonna ask? You, you're ready? No. What that was a guilty conscience. Okay, and when they got there and it was too late, he felt like crap. Felt like crap, and you know what? He deserved every single ounce of that. Now I get it. He looked at the phone and he was like, "Oh, not this guy again," and he just hung up or whatever. But it's one of those things where it's like he was worried more about his needs than, hey, maybe a work emergency, maybe this, maybe that. Could have been anything that could have came up. But he was more worried about, you know, taking care of business than he was about whatever or whoever was on the end of that phone. So I was just gonna say for the rest of Alex's life, he's gonna have to sit there. And I mean, granted, he should probably still feel bad even after. But I mean, come on, let's just be honest. Hey, Kayla and Marlena, they've been on that show for decades. They ain't going nowhere. Okay, they might take a bit of a break, some well earned vacation time, but they'll be back. They're doing a whole Charlie's Angels thing, so they're going to be back. All right. I gotta say, I in this weird way, I like the prison look on Lucas. You know, I mean, when I first saw him, he barged into Nicole's place. I ripped that man a new one. And of course, you have people in the comment section who was like, well, he's concerned about his daughter and you don't really know the whole thing. This was back when I used to get like a lot of flack for just ripping characters a new one, especially Allie. You know what? To this day, I don't regret not one single thing that I said about her. I just want people to know that, you know, um, because I used to get a ton of flack for that. But yeah, yeah, I like the prison look. Okay, I like the goatee and everything like that, and the messy hair. It's I like the look. All right. So Orpheus is there, and they seem like they about to get on to a fight, and Orpheus says some hilarious things about Lucas, right? So he's going in on Lucas. Meanwhile, Jonathan did tending to Marlena, finding out some news about Cade, and he's like, maybe Orpheus has the Orcus. So he goes down there, and he's all like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I guess Christmas came kind of early, so thanks, bro. Um, they find out. Well, Lucas finds out through Rex that his mom died. So he goes back there. He's all like, "I'm gonna kill you." This, that, and the third. Later on, Officer's like, "Hey, listen, I just want to sit there and apologize for my behavior." You know, like really, bro. He's like, "Hey, I got you something." Now, what was it? Kentucky whiskey. That seems like that's the type of drink that I know I couldn't handle. Okay, that seems like the type of drink that's like I don't know. Does that come with bail money? Because I feel like looking at that drink is just like looking at a really bad decision. But of course, Lucas is in a lot of pain, and this is the first time he slipped up or fell off the wagon. So I'm pretty sure if there was a time to sit there and fall off the wagon, which technically shouldn't be any time, if this was the time, well, if he was going to do it, I feel like this is going to be that moment. Um, but yeah, you know, Kayla died, so at some point, Marlena is going to be next. Eric was there, didn't really talk about too much of anything except for Kristen, and Eric just making a lot of bad decisions. So Par for the core. Don't get me wrong. I'm liking this. I am liking this somewhat dark Eric. But the thing is, Eric has always been the kinder, wiser person that you can go to for sage advice. I mean, when Sloane first met him, yeah, at first she was acting all nasty, whatever, but then she started talking to him. Okay, like she could just sit there and say anything to him, and he would just listen. He would just give good advice, or he wouldn't judge you. Like somebody you could just sit there and really just talk to. Like somebody you could just really open up to. Um, he just has that presence, and the reason why I'm sitting there bringing that up is because like this new darker side. I feel like I would probably appreciate a lot more if I've been watching it from when he was just more good and everything like that. And I don't know. I guess I just feel like I would appreciate it a little bit more. Um, oh yeah, Roman was there. He was in his fake tears. I mean, I get it. I get it. Not everyone can sit there and pull off a crying scene. And sometimes crying scenes can get so bad that they have to sit there and I've heard stories where they just had not meltdowns, but just full on like, all right, we got to stop, we got to cut it for a minute, and they got to sit there and compose themselves and stuff like that. And so maybe it's just a lot easier if they just do the whole fake crying thing as opposed to really crying about something and then just going. I don't want to sit there and say like some sort of deep trauma, but they start crying about something and then it really hits them, and it's not the acting at that point is literally whatever they were thinking about at the time. But I guess that's another reason why a lot of times these scenes just don't work for me. You know, 'cause I mean, besides that one time that she flipped out at Trip, I like it. You know, and their story, like how he loves her and everything like that, seems really interesting, and it's a sad scene. But when you see things like that, where it's just over the top, there's no actual water or anything like that, it's just like this isn't really working. And then on top of the fact that, well, let's be honest, even if he was crying, it just still wouldn't work for me. It worked for me a little bit, but it wouldn't work for me much because it's still, soap opera. I'm not knocking anyone that tear up during these scenes. It's just for me, it just doesn't work for me. Um, a million little things. I think there was two scenes. I don't really want to think about it because it's just gonna like actually start happening. And of course, This Is Us, because This Is Us. The only time I actually got emotional watching TV. Um, but soap operas just don't really do it for me, you know. Anyway, I feel like that's pretty much about it. I can't really think of anything else that happened throughout this episode. And if I miss anything, I'm going to be going live in about an hour. You know what? By the time. Okay. I'm going to be going live tonight. I want to. Screw it. I think I have time to sit there and save the battery. So, yeah, if anything that I miss, you want to sit there and talk about, we'll sit there and talk about it during the live. And with that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe, and I'll see you in the next video.